Every journey has a moment when stillness turns into motion. The chariot arrives when the heart knows its direction and the will rises to meet it. Hey friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Elizabeth and I share deck flip throughs, spreads, VRs, and so much more. Welcome back to the Fool's Journey. Today, the Fool meets the Chariot and the journey begins to move. This is the card of momentum, direction, and focused will. But as always, there's more beneath the surface than first meets the eye. So let's jump right into the imagery. By imagery, I mean the symbolism. The Chariot is a card that is rich in symbols. I mean, all of the cards are, but this one in particular, there's so much to take away from it. So we can see here, I'm using the universal weight and the tarot disassembled. And I actually wanted to refer to the guidebook for tarot disassembled as well, because there's just so much information. So why don't we start with the armor? We could see that the figure has armor on. It can represent protection, a shield, maybe self-preservation. It shows preparation, right? Preparation for what's ahead. Then up here we have this canopy and it almost looks like, these drapes with some stars. We can see them here as well. And that is the tie-in to divinity, right? Celestial, the heavens, and the idea that we are protected from above. I'm also taking note of the fact that the charioteer is wearing a crown. I don't know that I've ever noticed that, but the crown is such a bold piece on this card here. But yes, the charioteer is wearing a crown. And according to the book, that is to represent mastery, elevation, maybe authority, even intellect. Now, the charioteer also has a wand, which again is something that I don't know that I've ever noticed before. But the wand is, again, another tie-in to that spiritual wisdom, that conduit, right, between heaven and earth, as above, so below. This is so cool because I've never noticed that eight-pointed star either at the top of the crown. So interesting. That speaks to hope and guidance. Of course, there's a wreath around his head, the laurel wreath, victory and success. Then we have the mallet. We can see it here and here on the card. I don't know if you've ever noticed that and wondered, why is that there? The mallet represents skill and labor, accomplishment, and self-control. In the RWS, you see the charioteer leading the chariot with no reins. And I have always loved that. In fact, it makes me sad to see the reins because I feel like it takes away from the meaning, the sense that direction is guided by will and not control. And something that I never really took notice of, but if you look in the back here, we can see the walled city. It's like the figure is moving away from that. And a big part of that for me is almost the idea of leaving something behind, maybe leaving systems behind or traditions or even comfort zones. And then there's the chariot itself. What is powering our motion? That is something to think about. What powers the chariot is not the wheels, but it's the will inside. Now let's take a look at the Sphinx. So we have them, we can see them on both of the cards, obviously. Usually there's a pair. black and white, right? So that we can see that tie into duality. Some connect the black and white sphinxes to the sun and the moon, which I think is pretty interesting. Lots of cool symbols. Element of water, which I don't think I've ever noticed, but it's right back here. Super interesting. In thinking of real world applications for the chariot energy, there's a few that come to mind. Occasions when we need the chariot energy to kind of come in and get us going. Maybe you took a gap year after graduation and it's time to take next steps, but you are having a difficult time taking that step forward. The chariot reminds us that action is going to bring clarity. We don't know everything right at the beginning, but actually taking that step is going to start to bring us a little bit of clarity. Or perhaps you're that person that switched your major in college, or you're considering changing careers altogether, but you're held in place by fear, by obstacles, by negative thinking or self-doubt. Whatever it is, this chariot energy could kind of come in and help you get started. In that way, you would be honoring your deeper calling as opposed to sticking to this preset plan. Because the truth of the matter is, things change, right? And as things change, our direction has to change too. But the momentum is what is important here. Maybe you are looking at returning to school after being away for years and years and years. Or you're thinking about leaving a job that no longer aligns with what you want to do in the future. The chariot doesn't ask, is the road paved? No. The chariot asks, is the road mine? Is it mine to take? Maybe you're going through a breakup or a shift in identity. And rather than stay in place, you begin to build this new version of your life, and you do this brick by brick, right? The chariot doesn't wait for certainty. It moves when the soul and will finally align. A lot of people are waiting, waiting for the right time, waiting for the right moment, waiting until the money is there, the opportunity is there, the connection is there. No, the chariot is not waiting for any of those things. The chariot is waiting for your soul and your will to come into alignment. You'll find that the movement can be slow, but it's intentional. It's full of purpose. And that's all we need. I thought we could look at the sevens in the tarot in connection to the chariot. But before that, I wanted to bring back the chariot and maybe look at some of the keywords for this card. So the chariot oftentimes represents willpower. It could represent movement, maybe lack of movement, success, self-discipline, maybe your ambition or action. So how does this energy show up in the rest of the cards? In the Seven of Wands, we see the figure standing firm. There's challenge. And in this case, moving forward because you believe in what you're standing for. And then with the Seven of Cups, there's the idea of having to distinguish between illusion and truth. The chariot chooses with clarity, not with confusion. And so you will find yourself stuck here until you're ready for that next step. With the Seven of Swords, we see strategic motion or maybe even avoidance. The chariot is asking, are you escaping or evolving. And then we have the Seven of Pentacles. That's choosing endurance. The Chariot reminds us that motion can be both slow and intentional, but together they illuminate the effort that it takes to claim your path, not just the movement, but alignment under pressure. Let's take a look at some card comparisons. Bring the Chariot back out. And this is from the Simdala. I'm using this deck because it's beautiful, but also because this deck has an activation word, which I think is pretty interesting. And on this card, it's propulsion. So let me get these here. And actually, I think we have to zoom in just a little bit. So here we have the keyword propulsion. That's that idea that we're driven by force or by focus or even fuel in order to get to that next step. Now, here I'm going to show a card where it's been renamed to the fairy wind. This is from the Forest of Enchantment, and we have the fairy wind. The winds. I don't know if have you ever heard like that expression or that saying, the winds of change, right? That's what's happening here. The wind is blowing and it's causing that movement. It's like ethereal momentum where you're guided by spirit or intuition. Now here we have spiritual warrior. This is from my vision quest. And here we see disciplined motion with purpose and with power. Now, this card here is from Tarot of Light. And this one has also been renamed the Path. And the key word is exploration. And so, what they've done is, kind of embrace movement as discovery instead of a destination. A lot of times in the chariot, we see something besides a chariot and the two sphinxes. We see alternate vehicles, and I wanted to kind of go through some different examples. So this is from my Ember and Aura. You can see a female charioteer, and her chariot is being pulled by wolves. And here where he has that canopy with the tie-in to, spiritual protection, our figure here is also guided by the hands of spirit. Now, this one here is from the Rosebud, and we can see again a female in the driver's seat and actually in a car, and the path is ahead of her. And I don't know if you noticed that she's not even looking at the road. She's entertained by maybe the radio. Maybe she's tuning the AM dial, FM dial. Remember in the old cards, you had to press the button in order to change stations. I love the joy, the look of joy on her face. Now here, this is from the Creatures Tarot. And we see the chariot as a snail. And it's that idea that, again, like, just because there's movement or action doesn't mean that it has to be high speed. It doesn't have to be. All it has to be is intentional. And in our Mermaid Tarot, we have a seahorse. But instead of two seahorse, we see two figures. Just a little bit of a different interpretation. Now, this card is from my Naturescapes, and the chariot has been represented by this flowing river, and you could see the force and the movement of the water as it crashes through and creates that foam. It's so beautiful from up above, but there's a sense of direction, there's that sense of momentum. I really love this card. This is from the Sufi Tarot, and we have Wali. Now, no sphinxes, but we have that sense of duality here with the two horses, one dark, one light, no reins. Okay, the figure has their arms up in the air, the stars are out, and there's that connection. I really do see in this card that connection from the heavens to the earth. Now, we'll get rid of this one. We have two cards making special appearance. This is Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. This is a deck that I received from the lovely Desiree. We did a deck exchange and we are using each other's decks. And so this is one of the decks, Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. I think this card is fantastic. And actually, I want to bring it up close so that we can take a look. So we have that sense of duality, right? With the two horses, the black and the white. But also, what I love about this is that the horses are actually looking in two different directions. And then the charioteer is over here. There's this other figure here kind of getting in the way. No one's really paying attention. The actual chariot isn't even connected to the horses. It's just a funny card to me, the way that they've decided to depict it. We have a little bit of eclipse energy going on in the background. Have this snake here on the shield. And the biggest message that this card gives to me is that everything truly has to be in alignment in order for us to move forward. When there's a disconnect, it will cause a slowdown, it will cause a pause, it will cause, just a complete standstill. Here, this card is from the Lucid Minds Tarot. This is also another deck that I am using. I received from Desiree in our exchange, and I just love this depiction because again, we have the two horses. Okay, so we have that sense of duality with the lighter color horse, the darker color horse. But if you look closely, you will see they have legs in the front, but in the back there are no legs. Instead, what you have, to me, what that looks like is like a water wheel. Like, remember in the, back in the day, the water mills, and they had that wheel turning that created energy in order to power things. That is what I'm seeing here. And I think that's fabulous. A wonderful way to depict that chariot energy in this card. So we can see that there's a wide assortment of depictions for this card. Sometimes there's a vehicle, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the driver is missing. I've seen that as well. It's the idea of surrender. I want to bring back this card here from Tarot of Light. We had the path and exploration. So you can see that even when the chariot doesn't have a driver, the path unfolds. And that gives you something to think about. What does it mean when the direction comes from spirit and not by the hand? Friends, if you love tarot and you're interested in learning more about the archetypes, Please be sure to subscribe, tap the bell icon so that you don't miss any upcoming videos. If you know someone who might benefit from the series, feel free to share. That's another wonderful way to help small channels like mine get their voices heard. Now, I thought we could do a reading. I'm going to put the Chariot card here because this is our anchor card for our reading. Now, for this reading, I'm going to be using the Lucid Minds Tarot. And this is a 3-card spread. Okay. So we have the Chariot. This is the deck. Here are the beautiful card backs. I'm going to start giving it a shuffle. And we are going to do a spread to learn more about the energy of the Chariot. Oh my goodness. Okay, get in there. That was, look, the sun. I guess the deck is telling me it's okay, you can use me. I'm happy to see that that message of support and optimism in using the deck, because I don't think the deck was wanting me anywhere near. The deck was not wanting me anywhere near. So happy to see that. All right, so we are gonna pull 3 cards today. So the first one is, what is the driving force behind our current direction? What is the driving force behind our current direction? Okay, right here. Oh, Queen of Swords. Beautiful. Okay. Then card number 2. What opposing energy or internal tension must we learn to steer with grace? What must we learn? What must we learn to steer with grace? Ooh, 10 of Swords. And the final card, what potential path opens when I align willpower and soul truth? Right here. Temperance. Beautiful. This deck is beautiful. I think if you look at it, just looking at all of the beautiful colors, you can see why Desiree chose this deck as one for our exchange. So this is the Lucid Minds Tarot, and it's a photography deck, and it's stunning. So we're reading on the Chariot Energy, and the first card was, what is the driving force behind my current direction? We have the Queen of Swords. The Queen, above all, represents for me truth and power and standing firm. So it's a beautiful card to pull for this question, the driving force behind my current direction. This energy for me speaks to finding our truth and coming into alignment. And then we have, what opposing energy or internal tension must I learn to steer with grace? 10 of Swords. I mean, wow. Because the 10 of Swords is such a heavy energy. It's such a difficult energy to maneuver. This is typically that very complex situation, energy, mixed with emotion and heavy thought, and that feeling of just wanting to give in and let it all go. And we've all been there before. So it's a card that we see and we immediately know, yep, been there before, know what that means. And so when we're being asked, what opposing energy or internal tension must I learn to steer with grace? It's this energy. It's coming to an end of a difficult situation and learning how to let it go gracefully so that you can release and start anew. And I can't help but notice over here the beauty and the grace of this white pigeon. I don't know if it's a pigeon. To me, it looks like a pigeon, but it looks beautiful. It looks elegant. It looks graceful. And that's what you want when you get to these situations. It doesn't help to get uglier. To kick and scream and, flail your arms. No, sometimes you have to walk away with dignity and grace and know that you did the best that you could under the situation. You learned from it and you're going to put it past you so you can move on. And what potential path opens when I align willpower with soul truth? I mean, how beautiful to have the temperance card here. You could almost think of each of these vessels, one to be willpower and the other one to be truth. And if you think about it that way, it's that idea of finding that sweet spot between the two of them, because that's what opens up those paths. Oh, this is so pretty. This artwork is so incredible. That is our spread to learn more about this chariot energy. The beautiful Queen of Swords. The Queen, she doesn't rush, right? She moves because she's clear. And then we had the Ten of Swords. It's like that idea that this isn't about avoiding the difficult parts of life, it's about refusing to be governed by it. And then in the final card, we had Temperance, and that idea that we don't have to force our way forward, right? When we honor our pace and our truth, then harmony becomes possible for us. Overall, a beautiful reading, because at the end of the day, clarity is what steers us, and our pain is what teaches us. It's not about a race, it's about flowing through things. There's courage in choosing the road that allows for both healing and for progress. You can see before you that the chariot is not just forward motion, it's choosing the road. It's claiming the seat and learning what drives you, whether your movement is soft, fierce, fast, or slow. All that matters is that you choose. Next up is Strength, a card where wildness meets grace and power learns to listen. While the chariot masters the road, strength teaches us to master ourselves. Friends, thank you so much for watching and for taking this journey with me. If this card stirred something for you, feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. Subscribe to stay connected as we continue unlocking the archetypes. And until next time, bye-bye.